darn sure that this thing is run through the proper channel, like on any type of development or big-time deal. I mean, I just want, you should be able to sign off on this because you're the executive director. You're the one that's going to have to account for it, and I would want to make darn sure that the money's, I always ask,
Money.
have you, so I'm just curious on the process. I know she's doing a lot of work. I just want to make sure that everybody is in agreement, because I'll be honest with you, I don't have any qualm saying this.
Yeah, so
I don't know a lot of all this stuff.
this wouldn't go to Bill's department until we get the construction documents. So this is the phase, so this would be the last step before it would be reviewed, so for permitting all that, but
Would he, and not to do it, would the board have to review the plans, like if a subdivision, and again, this is for me to understand. If we're doing a subdivision, does the building department, the city manager have to look at it before it comes to us to approve on the deal? I just want to make sure we're not getting ahead of ourselves, that we're doing it, because I want something coming back and all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on, you're new.
Right.
Or something in the deal. I just want to make sure we're good, that we don't, and I'll be honest with you, Rose, I'm shy on the deal because of the previous thing with the commission deal, where all of a sudden, out of the blue, the county commission, where it was the 15 grand, and all of a sudden we got, I apologize if I sound a little, we didn't know about it, you did your job, and all of a sudden
yeah,
we get
no,
hammered with the 15.
we were totally on track with that. It's been resolved, and that was something that even the experts in this state would have.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But we still paid it.
Yeah.
That's all. I just want to make darn sure that the process we're going through it, that we know what we're doing, to where there's no hiccups. So,
Honestly, I don't know anything about the project. I've not seen anything. I've not been kept up to speed about anything about this project. And as far as it conforming to any of stormwater regulations or anything that we normally go through for projects, I don't know. I haven't seen any documents.
We
I
haven't
seen
gotten
anything.
to that phase yet. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We haven't gotten to that phase yet. We just did a community master plan. We haven't done any construction documents. We're not even at that point yet. This would be the step before, and probably only the wall. Because, if we do the entryway signage, but they're going to have a structural engineer, but that would come through.
And a lot of times what we do, we're a small town, a small city. We'll look at it before it goes to engineers. We do that for developers. We do that for a lot of people to make sure it's going to fit into our criteria. So our private developers don't end up spending a lot of unnecessary funds before they go to engineering. We always take a look at it. We've always had that door open to take a look at it. The door's open to you. Again.
We certainly will. Yeah, this is a conceptual, and it's a landscape architect. So, other than the wall, that's the only structural element. But this would be to initiate the construction documents, to have, right now, they've just taken our feedback and kind of created a conceptual for us to look at. But there's nothing, that's carved in stone at this point. So.
Okay, I still don't understand the project. I don't know anything about the project. I apologize. Again, I've not been kept up to speed. I think I can speak for David. You know anything about the project? We don't know anything about it.
This is landscape. This is a normal process, as far as so when I was at the county and we had our planning department, these things are reviewed in-house with planning. Once it gets to the point when they have the construction documents, at that point it goes to the building department for review. Now, before we have anything, again, it's mostly landscaping, so the only structural element would be the sign. And, so when we have...
Structural elements, we're talking about things whether, like I say, with private developers, we take the extra step to work with them prior to them going to any type of contractual agreement with an engineer and architect to make sure it fits in what we're doing. To make sure
nothing has been created yet.
Can I finish? Make sure it fits in our stormwater plan, to make sure Public Works can service whatever we're doing. We look at all those elements for private folks before they move on. And we have found it's been successful for us. It has saved them dollars in any upfront, because we've had some projects that come in that David and I've looked at that just honestly didn't make sense. And, we've been able to say that up front without them going to any agreements with design professionals and wasting money. But I have not seen anything about this project. I don't know anything about it.
We are very inclusive, and when that time comes, we will include everybody as normal. We don't have it. This is all, a master plan was a community-generated idea, and we don't even have any documents at this point.
Do you have any conceptual drawings?
We have the master plan that's been published, and,
We've not.
I mean, it's a
Never.
30,000-foot view of our trails and some of the amenities, but there's nothing that's actually proposed at this time to be built.
We have not discussed it or seen any part about it, neither
Why
myself
can't we just let
nor
them see
public.
it, what we have?
Here, right,
Just
that's
one-
the.
It's
Well,
land, it's shrubbery. I mean, do you do landscaping review? So this is the part, I mean, again, this is not like, we haven't decided how many of this or whatever. It's just all conceptual at this point. But as we
Okay, I
move
understand
forward,
it.
we
It's
certainly will.
conceptual at this point, but you're getting ready to go into a contract with a engineering firm or a landscape architect firm to put this into fruition. Am I correct
We
or
are a
not?
CRA,
Am I
yes, and this
correct?
is for this is to create documents so that we have something to discuss.
So we're going to go into a contractual agreement with a design professional to create documents to see if it's feasible? I'm confused.
We've already, this was a master plan, this was a CRA project.
It was or it is?
It is a CRA project.
Mhm.
We did a community-centered design, design charrette, and everyone was invited. The documents have been posted publicly. They're on our webpage. They're everywhere. At this point, we don't have anything to build. I'm not sure what you're looking for. I mean, we don't have anything to share. We're very inclusive. We definitely want everybody to join us, to collaborate and give their feedback, but we haven't reached that point yet.
Well, what you're doing.
Well, we had a contract, I mean, this was an RFQ process. We've had a contract, we've been under contract with them since February.
We weren't aware of any of that. We've not seen anything.
Everyone was invited to the RFQ review process. I mean, it's
Is
been
that drawing that just had some trees on it, or?
the trails, the trees, the pavilion, the, potential gateway signage, speed
I
table.
remember seeing something about it, but
There's a copy of both of the documents that we're looking at tonight.
I apologize if I cluttered up the deal, but I didn't mean to do that.
Either. So the contract you're talking about is the one that's 31,350, correct?
No, I think the sheet you have, that was actually supposed to be an exhibit for the back for the county for the,
So
do you have the
how
full
much is
packet?
contract?
It should be in the full pack. Do you have the full packet?
I did, the one that you sent. So how much is,
So the sign is $6,900, or not, I'm sorry, the enhancements around the pavilion is $6,795.
okay, so the contract, this is not what you're talking about, this contract.
That's for the signage, that's the next part, yeah, this
Okay,
is the first
Okay,
part.
I'm sorry, so this one, you're
It's a
just
construction
looking to
document.
do the contract for $6,900.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't get that one, and I apologize.
And then there's one under it, Jennifer, for the signage. You have that one? For the entry sign, it's a,
The one that's for 31,000?
yeah.
Yeah, I have that one.
Okay.
I don't have it. So this one, right now, you're just looking for $6,900.
yeah.
To do the landscape.
And does that include the electrical that's going to be added around that corner there in the Market Square area?
So this is just, again, the design, this is the construction, so when we get in to actually build, that'll be phased in as we do each section, but yes, we definitely are gonna have electric, because of the lighting and whatnot, and irrigation. But this, at this point, is just design.
So the $6,700 is for no landscaping, that's just for the drawings, that's just for the engineer to lay it out.
And then, so that, for the landscape part, then it's actually going to be, including the design and all that's going to be 75,000. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, I mean, eventually, I don't know which, it's, so,
I got a spreadsheet.
that's the one, yeah, that's the one I sent, that's the one that went to with the county report to show the $4 million, the whole overall project over several years. And I think that might be sheet one.
Not just you.
So the $6,700 is for the drawings on the deal, and then the $31,000 is for the actual sign,
For the design, yeah.
for the design, $31,000 for design, then what is the sign gonna cost?
So, well, I'll take you back to that. Let me see, get this here.
$31,000 to design a sign?
Well, it's not just the sign, it's the speed table,
Okay.
it's all the, yeah,
Okay,
That
that's-
big picture.
getting DOT right-of-way permits and all that.
okay.
So the part that's the exhibit on the back of the report that went to the county kind of has the whole 30,000-foot view of the whole project. And so, you know, again, we're doing this incrementally, so, but Phase 1, the whole cost of Phase 1 eventually will be, okay. So the signage would be 567, that's for everything, that's for demolition, and, you know, again, these are rough estimates, because this would have to be bid and all that, but, you know, it's got the breakdown there of everything, the masonry, smalls and signs, the speed table, everything lumped together is 500,000, 567, 310, and then the market pavilion area, and again, this is stuff that, at this point, we're not moving forward on altogether, just because of the, you know, we're doing things incrementally, but that would be 400,000 over time. So, but as far as, you know, the portion that we're looking at now, and again, you know, it depends, like, so if we would decide to go ahead with the signage and say we would want a water feature or we would want certain types of materials, it's going to significantly change the cost of the actual product. But the costs that we have on the contract are just for the design work to get to that point.
So can you tell us what we're approving tonight?
So before you is the design, the construction documents for the pavilion enhancements, the landscaping around the pavilion, and then the other contract is to do the design work for the signage and speed table.
Okay, so we're approving a contract for $6,795.
Yeah, and that's for the pavilion enhancements. That's to integrate the pavilion into the overall.
And the other one is 31, I can't read it, 31,350.
Yeah, and again, I just, you know, we were talking about, because there's so much exciting, you know, a lot of people want to move forward with some of these things, and so I just want to put this in front of you so we see, you know, what that next step is. If you're more comfortable with the landscape, because the pavilion's coming online relatively soon, and then, you know, but those are the two contracts tonight. You know, the other things are just discussion items, and then those, you know, this overall thing was actually supposed to be an exhibit for the county. This is not, you know, this is not where we are at this point. This is, you know, 10 to 15 years down the road.
Okay.
Question. So now, so what we're doing tonight is vote on it for the contract for them to do the design for the landscape.
Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing,
and the irrigation lines, yeah.
and irrigation lines.
Yeah, but it's the design work. It's not the actual product. It's not any materials. It's just the engineering and design work.
What's it gonna cost once they to actually do the landscaping design? Is that in here someplace?
So
So on this-
they have an estimate in here, and again, you know, like if we would want to go with a certain type of material or,
Yeah, it would vary as to the, there's gotta be like a range. That's a nice picture.
So the gateway entry, gateway area, that's the scrubs and the gateway and all that for 567,000?
yeah, that's the whole thing, like once it's done down the road. That's not what we're approving tonight. And in fact, I wasn't even, you know, intending for this to go with this. This was just an exhibit that went with the report to the county to show all the things that we have in the pipeline.
So what's the first phase we're gonna do with this pavilion?
So at the last meeting, you all had, well, the meeting before, actually, you all had discussed that you wanted to focus on the enhancements around the pavilion, because, being the pavilion being the priority. So that's why that one is there. And then as far as the next one is for if we want to move forward with additional lighting and signage, because I've had a lot of feedback about the need for additional lighting and to begin, the upgrades that we've been discussing. So, but yeah, so as far as the first contract is simply for the upgrades around the pavilion.
Okay. So I thought we discussed, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the first phase we discussed, well, we're gonna make sure we get the pavilion in first. And then we'll work around the pavilion. That's what I thought we had discussed.
Yeah, well, at that time, okay, so Jennifer had the contract, we were getting it approved by USDA, and we didn't want to have anything, we didn't want to be in a change order situation, we didn't want to have anything else. That's already been taken care of, that's underway, that's secure. If you want to continue to hold off on, the only thing, the pavilion will be built, and then, there's no, we can, as far as digging up irrigation lines, we can do that later on down the road. There's, no rush other than, we're wanting to see, some of these things kind of, begin to appear. So, but as far as the pavilion, that's all underway, that's secure, there's nothing that's going to jeopardize that or anything, that's all moving forward. And so, so if you want to wait until that's absolutely finished before we move forward, we can, but it's going to slow us down. But I think we're talking about because originally that was the concern. The concern was, well, we don't want to spend $50,000 on landscaping and then find out we had something else we needed to cover at the pavilion. But we've already given the $36,000. That's all secure. That's underway. Everything's moving forward with that. So there's nothing that's going to hold that up. This is something completely separate.
And there was no landscape in the plans for the pavilion? There's no landscape at all in that? Okay.
And the contract from, which,
The USDA contract,
Yeah.
there is nothing.
it,
And the, the contract will probably, all the paperwork won't be done until probably the end of this month. We've got for the next meeting, the contract will be signed, but we still have to meet with USDA. Then they have 240 days to build the pavilion. They are wanting and ready to go, so it's going to be the middle of winter, if you can call that here in Florida, but it is going to be cold, and I don't know what landscape we'll be able to get then. That's what I'm just thinking.
okay.
Okay, so we've already approved the pavilion, that's on its way. And are we approving the $67.95 tonight? Is that what we're approving?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
so this is just for the construction documents and, we can time that. This is just for them to get that ball rolling. If we want to hold off, like say if the pavilion's done in November and we want to wait till February, we can, but this is just the design work.
Okay, let's go back up. So, you say all the paperwork in for the pavilion. Do we have a plan and what it's gonna look like and all that?
Yes, sir, we have a plan. The paperwork still, because USDA has a lot of paperwork as far as just contracts and the administration part.
Okay,
They've already approved the drawings with the architect. That's all done.
so that's all done.
That's all approved. Their state architect approved it. It's just now getting the paperwork in place.
Okay, so now, Bill, have you seen any of this? So can I come question, you're gonna have water and,
Yeah,
and all this?
I've looked at it, the state architect has done a fine job at it, actually, and it is ready to permit. The only thing we're waiting on is the funding mechanism to come in place, that's all. It's ready to permit. But it's ready to go. It's all in place. So,
Okay.
I'm satisfied. I'm happy with it, comfortable with it, so, but it's good.
Okay, so I think I got it now. So basically, all we want to do is just approve the $6,000 for them to come up with a, okay, all right.
A landscape plan.
landscape plan after we get, okay, all right.
And so I want to clarify one thing, because I'm still a little confused. Landscape, but one of the things we had talked about was lighting, but there's nothing really in that. Does this include a lighting plan as well, or is that going to be an upcharge?
So as far as the design, so like the part around the pavilion, you know, if the desire is to have the lighting in, they're going to be doing this holistically. So when they go through, let's see here, so irrigation is in there. You know, so as far as lighting, it doesn't, so since this is the landscape portion and they're doing the design work, before it comes time, so like, say they do the design for the landscaping and the irrigation, and we say, okay, we want lights up, you know, each of the pillars on the pavilion or whatever. Then at that point, then, you know, the electrical would be done. So that's the construction phase. This is just the design phase. I mean, if we tell them, you know, this is the electrical that we want, they'll put that in, and then that will go to bid with everything else. But we're not actually paying for the electrical work at this time, because this is just design work.
Right, I just want to make sure there's a plan for lighting back there, because that was one of the things that's a problem, is how dark it is back in that corner for people that are walking to our businesses. And that was a discussion that was had at this charrette and everything else. And yet I don't see anything in here, so that's why I'm confused. Because, again, I don't deal with contracts like this. I would never personally pay that much for someone to do a landscape plan for me. And then there's upcharges that I've seen, so I just don't want to say, gee, we're going to approve this, and then realize we're not accomplishing what we were trying to accomplish, you know, which was to not only put some nice vegetation there and some irrigation, but to light up that corner so that that brand-new parking we're putting in and the existing parking that's back there would be safer for the people that are walking around back there. Mm-hmm. So that's my concern. And then, you know, oh, well, you want to add an electrical drawing, that's going to be another $500 or so. You know, I just don't understand how this works. So that's why I'm asking, because I don't see electrical in this anywhere. And I thought that was something that in the charrette and in the discussions had been a.
Yeah, they're aware that's the priority. I can, you know, I mean, we can condition that approval, you know, subject to inclusion of the lighting, but I'm pretty sure, because they know the whole thing that started all of this was the lighting and the need for irrigation, so.
So in the plans that's for the pavilion, Bill, I'm quite sure there's, I know you ain't gonna light the whole area, but I'm quite sure there's lighting.
Commissioner, I got to come up here to hear you.
I don't got comfortable. But I'm quite sure in the plans that you don't see, there's lighting for the pavilion already and all that good stuff.
The plans that we have that are being funded by FDA are for the basic building.
That's
Yeah,
it.
That is what it
They
is.
have electric,
Okay.
as far as they have big fans in them.
Right.
And they have the ability, they have outlets for the, because it's a farmer's market, so it's during the day. So no, sir, there is not lighting at this time.
Can lighting be added to it?
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Exactly. There's not a problem there. Now, you're talking about street lighting, am I
Yeah.
correct?
Well, lighting that whole, that area around there.
And that's going to take, that's street lighting. That's really what you're talking about, to get enough looms in there to make it attractive and have enough light for people to feel safe. That's what you're talking about. So we're really talking about, if I get it right, we're trying to put together a landscape design plan around a building we haven't built yet, and around lights, we don't know where we're going to put them yet. Is that kind of where we are?
Well, they have the pavilion doc. I mean, they've been coordinated with Bramehack and them, so, I mean, they're aware of how it's going to look and how it's situated.
Okay, but I don't know how it's going to be situated yet, not until I go through a total plan review of it and what we're going to do. I mean, I've done a cursory review of it, but
Yeah.
there's other things I need to consider is, you know, what services are going to go in, what future services we want in there. You know, we've talked about that. So, you guys want my opinion, I'll give it to you. I think that I don't understand why there's such a rush to put a landscaping plan together when we don't even have a building up yet. That's just my opinion. Because we don't know exactly what we're going to do with that area once we start going vertical with construction. We go vertical with construction, is it going to darken other parts of that area? Of course it will. Do you know which ones they will be? I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. We don't exactly know what our final plan's going to be until, in my opinion, we've got it in the ground.
So our consultant has the plan. In fact, they told Bream Heck how they, as far as the placement with the other buildings in the area, the guy that did the pedestrian walkway on 13th and UF, he's on board. That's their lighting consultant. So, I mean, they've got the experts in place. And, but, at this time, this is just, as far as the design work specific to the pavilion. And, but as far as landscape lighting, I mean, that's certainly, that's what they do all the time. So,
I wouldn't talk about landscape lighting, I'm talking street lighting.
Yeah. So when you saying lighting around the building, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you're looking at, whoever we,
Pedestrian lighting.
Yeah.
Lighting,
yeah, because what we got downtown now, up and down, that one,
No.
if I'm catching what you're trying
Yeah,
to say.
no,
that's
it's
what-
not enough. We don't have adequate lighting,
Like you're
and
getting old, like the rest of us.
I'm getting younger. No, I'm getting wiser.
Wiser.
I'll just simply say this. This is a major undertaking that we're doing. This is the beginning steps. I'm uncomfortable with starting a journey without it being a team deal. I'm assuming the city manager at some point in time has to sign off on it. I see where she can sign it. I didn't, and I'm just curious as to who can sign contracts. I thought it had to be the city manager, but I could be wrong. But I want it to happen, but I want it to happen with a full understanding and everybody's on the same page and we're all in agreement. This can't be a CRA project. This is a city project through the CRA. And I think the individuals need to be sit down. You're going to answer for it. I'm going to ask you the question. People are going to ask you the question when the money gets spent and when the things go. They're going to come to you because the city manager, and you have to be prepared to answer it. That's all I'm asking, is to make sure that you are fully prepared using all of the resources that we have within the city. This is a great, I'm not questioning the project. I'm questioning the process that we go through to make decisions. I'll be honest with you, I don't know this. I can look at it. I'm the first one to admit it, my limitations. I don't know this. Usually what we would have is you approve it. Somebody comes in and they come up here and, the staff has approved it, so to speak. So that's all I'm looking at is the process on the deal. I'm uncomfortable with doing anything tonight, me personally, until everybody is in agreement on what we're doing. That's just me.
and I think where this greatly differs is, normally in a city or a county, when a project comes, it comes to us and it goes through the normal channels. And there's a very, very specific process that this goes through. Being a CRA, there's a lot more freedom and flexibility. And so we have, a couple $100,000, waiting to be spent on some of these master plan projects. And so, with that freedom, we're going through this design work, which normally would be done on the other side of things. I mean, normally that's done, and they bring it to us. But, since the community is centered in this project, we're right on the front seat. That's why this feels different.
And maybe that's the deal. This has the potential of being a big budget item as we go.
Right.
Because once you start it, you don't want to sit there and say, well, we're not going to proceed. I think everybody has to be in agreement that this is the first step of a long-term project and the amount of money that we're going to spend. Me personally, the city manager, the building, public works, everybody's got to sort of be on, because it is going to impact other parts of the city or the downtown as it goes in. And I'm for the project, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking against it. And this is not you, but I keep going back to the 15 grand. We did everything right.
And,
and they zing you, and maybe that's the wrong deal. I just want everybody on the city to be in agreement on this major project. You're steering the ship, I get it, I'm not questioning your ability, don't get me wrong. But everybody else in the city, okay.
If I could speak, as I'm trying to get up to snuff, looking at the previous minutes, I understand that the pavilions were the top priority. And since I've been here, not in this capacity, but it used to be a standing joke about the farmer's market and pavilion. I just want to take a minute and regress and slow down and find out exactly a time frame. We'll get together, staff will get together, and we'll come back with a better discussion, I would think, and a better understanding. I'm in the dark right now myself, but I will get up to snuff, up to speed, I will, and we will bring back something that could be more, I would say, clear, because I'm still in a fog, and I will get Ms. Wright and staff, and we'll discuss and bring you something back that you won't be so convoluted that you think, wow, what's going on here? And I'm a little perplexed too, because I think, as was said, let's not build a building and we put a landscape there first. I know it's just for design, but you can design something and you're like, well, it work out right. And we have been in this process for a long time. And it's not something that we could just willy-nilly do and continue forward. I prefer to slow down a little bit and get our bearings right and then continue forward.
What would you anticipate the time frame being on that, Mr. DeCoursey? When do you think you could come back, explain this thing?
30 days.
Okay, so let's schedule, then I would be in favor. Then we've got everybody on board. She can steer the ship on this. She's got the deal, but then everybody's good, and we're all on the same boat going forward.
And no reflection on Ms. Wright, but she's doing her due diligence, but we got to get on it.
Nothing what I'm saying there. I just want to make sure. So can we put it on the agenda for whatever the,
So we don't need to make a motion, we'll just stay in agreement that the executive director will bring it back to us with the director and whatever supporting staff needs to be here within about 30 days, whatever meeting that would fall on for us. Is that okay?
Yep.
That sounds right? Okay. All right, we're running a little behind here, sorry about that. Next item is a discussion to move forward with Phase 2 Main Street landscaping, lighting, accessibility, safety, and potential access improvements with CHW, which is the other firm that we approved a while back. Christina, I'll let you take over.
yeah, so actually, so what they have here, I just asked them to give us their timeline, as far as just to kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at, just based on, the discussion, the request for additional lighting and the improvements up Main. So this is just to kind of give you an idea, when the time comes that we're moving forward with the Main Street improvements, this is what we're looking at. There's specific project scheduling, and as far as, community outreach and all that. So this is, what we'd be looking at when we decide to move forward with, improving the lighting and the landscaping down Main. So that's what that is.
And that's for the Main Street corridor only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could interject, if we could recess the CRA meeting. This is the commission meeting for the budget was advertised, and folks are here, so if we could recess to after the commission meeting, then we could come back.
Okay. All right, so I guess I need a motion to recess the meeting. Do we need to make a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And the attorneys are here just in the nick of time. And I think those people out there are here for that. Don't you? See here?
They might be just for your fault.
No, I think some of them are here for you. Don't you think? You see him? He's not here. See you in a little bit.
Glad you can show up, Rick. Glad you can show up.
Call this meeting to order at 6:32. Pastor Hall has agreed to give the invocation. We will then, if we can stand, and then have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God, we are blessed by your hand, by your protection, by your mercies and your grace. This week we have remembered two separate events that took place in our past that have affected us dramatically all across our nation. We ask, O Heavenly Father, that you would give us wisdom and insight and direction, that we might provide for our community in a special way, to minister to those who have need, to comfort those who have loss, and to uplift all in this place. For your word says that sin is a disgrace to any nation, but righteousness exalteth the nation. May we experience that righteousness that exalts this community, and Lord, we'll bless you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hall. Might I say that it was really nice to hear such a large group giving the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't usually get that. Jenny, could you do the roll call, please?
Mayor Jones,
Here.
Vice Mayor Williams,
Here.
Commissioner James,
Here.
Commissioner Jameson,
Here.
Commissioner Lavin,
Here.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. We need to add citizens' comments before new business. And where did the paper go? Thank you. Item 5, under new business, for consider approval of a contractor's agreement with McInnes Services, LLC, DBA, LMC Steel for the construction of the Farmers Market Pavilion.
I'll make a motion to pass the agenda as revised.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the amended agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 5-0. The first item is the Certificate of Appreciation to Community Promise.
Minutes.
Commissioner,
Minutes.
oh, shoot, okay.
You want to get to the good stuff.
Yes, we'll need to approve the minutes, lots of them.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 25th, August 29th commission meetings and the August 6th and August 20th, 2019 budget workshop minutes.
Second. It is moved and seconded that we approve the commission minutes for July 25th and August 29th, and the workshops August 6th and 20th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now, the certificate of appreciation to Community Promise, Inc. and Commissioner James is going to do this.
I want to go down here.
Absolutely.
I'm going to come back here and get my friend out of the way. And I asked to be allowed to do this tonight because I think you are deserving. It's simply a certificate of appreciation from not only the commission here, but all the rest of us in this city, not just High Springs either, but all the surrounding cities, for all the things that you do. You always out there pushing for our kids all the time, and you do the best that you can do. Now, I realize that there are some other organizations and clubs that do things in the community as well, but not on the scale that you do. So I think you deserve it. As all of you know, last month, he did backpacks for the children all over the place, as I keep saying, not just High Springs. And he did 300. And I think that's a tremendous thing to do. And I think you deserve somebody to say thank you for the things that you do. So it simply says, Certificate of Appreciation, awarded this 12th day of September, 2019, to Community Promise Incorporated for hosting the annual community-wide back-to-school bash. We provided free backpacks filled with school supplies to the children of the community. The city of High Springs, Florida, signed by the Mayor Linda Jones and the city manager. I started to say Chief DeCourse. George DeCourse. So again, we say thank you, thank you, thank you, and keep up the good work. And you know I have to put it right. Oh, okay. Okay. No, it's yours. Go where you are. You got it? Okay.
To all of our commissioners and our city manager, I just want to say thank you for just thinking about our little organization. But we try to do what we can to provide help to whomever we can do it for. It could have been one of us out there, and that's the way we look at it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the first item is the budget. City Attorney, Rich?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution 2019-L, a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, determining the amount of and fixing the tentative rate of ad valorem taxation for fiscal year 2019-2020, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date. The appropriate motion would be to pass the resolution upon reading of title only.
So rate 5.8,
5.8800.
same as last year.
Explain to all you what we're doing here.
Pardon?
Let them know what we're doing here and won't affect their property value going up out of.
So the reality is the rollback rate usually covers the increase in property values. So when you use the rollback rate, you potentially, are you supposed to pay the same rate you paid last year? our rate is the same as last year, but the property values have gone up. So the citizens will see a little bit higher on the ad valorem than last year. That makes sense.
Oh,
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2019-L.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2019-L.
Mayor Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lavin,
Yes.
Passes 5-0. The second item is consider ordinance 2019-07.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is regarding the budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. Ordinance 2019-07, an ordinance adopting the 2019-2020 fiscal year budget of the City of High Springs, Florida, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion would be to approve the ordinance upon first reading of title only.
Is there any?
Yeah. Did you want to say something? I would ask that we consider, I would like it to happen, the dollar increase on the sewer and water rates on the base rate to finance specific maintenance on those two items. That be designated a restricted fund. I want to make, or however the accounting needs to be done, I want to make sure that the citizens understand, they know that the dollar addition is being specifically used for that maintenance. It's not going to be shifted over into another budgetary item. So whatever we need to do that, and then whatever's left over at the end of the year rolls into that same restricted type of deal, so it's a carryover.
So we'll handle this very similar to the way we do with impact fees. They'll have its own bank account at the end of every month after the billing. We'll move the money, however many customers that we owe that dollar for sewer and water, to that bank account, and it'll be divided up whether it's water or sewer. You'll be able to see I can present every month or every quarter how much is in each account. The rate increase will not go into effect until November 1st because of the way that we have to do the readings. So on the second commission meeting in October is when you will actually vote on the increase. It'll go on notice on the bills ending this month. So the September will notice the meeting of October the 24th. That's when you will actually vote on it.
Okay. I just think it's important that they know that the increase that's being levied is specifically going for a designated repair, and it's not going to be shifted over to some other project, and at the end of the year, it'll roll over, and that's crucial.
Yeah, it actually makes it cleaner that way and
Right.
easier to say what we've exactly spent the
Well, they would
money
know.
on.
I mean, you could sit there at any given time, you could sit there and say, this is what we paid, this is what we came in, this is what we paid, and it's a clean in and out type of process. But the main thing is, it's not going to, it's not Bright Futures.
Not going into
and it's not
clearing
Social
account,
Security where
no.
they're taking it. Okay, if that can be done, I'm good.
Your cover page is the changes that happened after the workshops, and the page number is, if you want to look, if you have questions, the main thing is adding the CDBG grant, and then removing the increase on the consumption for water and sewer. So that's on those two accounts. On the general fund, it's the PTO buyback that if the funding is there, the city manager can authorize that. So we've actually, we're able to put that in this year. We bumped up some of the Parks and Rec, some of their operating and fuel. And when you see the removal of the trees, that was a one-time thing. So if we do need to do more trees in the park, that can be done with Wild Spaces money, and we have a reserve of Wild Spaces money of $45,000.
So that's more than what was actually budgeted. if need
Correct.
be. And the additional person in the recreation is a 30-hour. We have an additional person, 30 hours, not 40, but it's a 75% type
Yes,
of
sir.
deal on the deal. So we have an additional position, 30 hours.
Yes, and I believe that that person will be ready to go October 1.
Any other discussions?
I'm good. I'll make a motion we pass ordinance 2019-07 on first reading.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve budget item for the budget for 2019-07. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry? Oh,
Vice Mayor Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner James,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
yeah. It was passed 5-0.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Sure.
When will this show up, like in documents, that additional line item type of thing from a budgetary standpoint? Does it show up anywhere, or is it the first time you do it's created? I'm just curious.
Thinking about the dollar,
Yeah,
that will show up. When I present the financials, it's revenues and expenditures. It will show up as in a cash account.
so you'll be able to show us when
Yeah,
that
I can
happens?
bring the
Okay,
copy of the cash account whenever, quarterly or whatever.
okay.
Does anybody here wish to comment on the budget? Okay, so we have moved ahead with that. The next item is citizens' comments to, I don't have it here in front of me, for items not on the agenda, and limit your time to 5 minutes, please, and state your name. We will move on to new business. Consider approval of employment contract with Joel DeCoursey Jr.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I'd like to give maybe the commission a brief summary of what we have in front of us right now. As you know, Mr. DeCoursey has worn at least two hats. Maybe we add a third hat to his repertoire tonight, in going from the police chief to interim city manager to potentially city manager permanently. The city attorney was directed at our last meeting, which I think was a special meeting, heading into the weekend where we thought Dorian was going to hit, to go ahead and put together a contract for consideration tonight. And our office has had a couple conversations with Mr. DeCoursey about it, and have sought the feedback from the commissioners on the content of what's in front of us. Hopefully, it's the latest version, but as far as some of the key terms, it's a one-year contract. There is what we call an evergreen provision in there. It automatically renews unless one of the parties within 90 days of the end of that first term notifies the other party saying they want out. Otherwise, it would renew the way it's currently drafted for 1 year. There was discussion at the last meeting. The commission might want to engage in some further discussion on this tonight, as far as whether that renewal period should be 2 years or something else. The motion that was ultimately made is, well, let's go with the first year, and then we'll address renewal when that time comes. So for purposes of consideration tonight, it just has a 1-year period. There's also in section 1 some discussion about at that point in time, towards the end of the first year, taking up the residency issue. It's not required by the charter, so this contract does not have any residency requirement, but I think the consensus was, let's revisit that maybe at the end of the first year. So we put in a term that in July 1 of 2020, which would be going into the last quarter of the first year, that if we think we're going to renew, then maybe we should start talking about whether we want to have a residency requirement or not. And so that's in Section 1. Section 3 sets forth the compensation. We tried to put it together so that it reflects basically what the advertisement was for this second go-around in our search. So that you'll find that all in the Section 3. Section 4, we included on the benefits, we make very clearly that health is included, but in terms of dental and family coverage, that is available to the city manager, but it would be at the city manager's expense, okay? I think Mr. DeCoursey already knew that. And then Section 5, paid time off. We had to be a little bit creative with this one because we have a situation where Mr. DeCoursey, as the chief of police, has accrued, it's written in 505.85 hours, give or take, of PTO. And so the way we handled it here is to allow him to keep that sort of in reserve and hold on to that. The commission might recall that with our more recent city manager contracts, we limited the city manager to 800 hours of PTO. So the idea here would be that Mr. DeCoursey could continue to accrue up to 800 hours. And we would include those 505 hours that are in reserve. But if he decides to use those hours, then once he brings that back down, he can then start accruing the city managerial PTO all the way back up to 800. So retirement, he goes through the ICMA retirement program, just as Mr. Booth did, I believe. And so then there's some expenses, coverage for cell phone, stipend of $85 a month. And that is the gist of it. The rest of it is pretty generic terms, if you will. So that's kind of an overview of where we are. And I apologize to Mr. DeCoursey. He pointed out to me this afternoon that it should say Joel DeCoursey Jr. So if you don't have the version that says Joel DeCoursey Jr., that's the latest change that we made, and I apologize for that.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
Yeah, this is probably not going to be a positive deal. I've had a discussion with Mr. DeCoursey, so understand what I'm about to say is nothing that he hasn't and I haven't talked about. I'm 100% supportive of him, and he knows that, and that's not in question. I question the compensation. I question it to this degree. We're paying top dollar for an individual who has never been a city manager and has never managed grants to the degree that we have on the table. I think in that regard, I'm looking at the position, not the man. If it wasn't the man, we wouldn't be here. That just concerns me from a procedural standpoint that we made that jump with no experience at all within that job. He's there because we know him and what he's done as the chief. So that's it. I'm for him 100%, but from that standpoint, I have a concern just because of the process and how it played out in that regard. So that's all.
Any other comments? Should I ask for the public comments? Does anyone from the public care to comment? Okay.
Now's the time.
Yes, sir?
Come to.
I like to say you don't get experience going in the drink box until you go in the drink box. Amen.
Yes, ma'am, come on.
I was just concerned as to the compensation, is there a range, do we put him at the top of the range? Since we talked about his experience, or was he and available, is he topped out already or something?
That's almost mid-range.
Right. And when we had the discussion about the advertisement, we did discuss that. I brought that up. You know, I had done some research that I felt like going in at that point was a little high, you know, trajectory-wise from the research I had done. And I do, you know, I do tend to feel like Commissioner Jameson too. And again, I'm delighted that Mr. DeCoursey is willing to sit up here and have no doubt that he will rise to whatever challenge that we throw at him. He may run screaming from City Hall. So, you know, I too feel like, you know, and I don't remember the numbers because I don't have them in front of me, but there was a range that we looked at and talked about when we did that advertisement. And so I'm not sure what the top end, and you also have the Evergreen study as your baseline. So it appears that's kind of in the middle. The number that we're looking at is kind of in the middle of that. How many years governmental experience do you have, Mr. DeCoursey?
When you say government, all my experience, Madam Mayor, is in law enforcement, and that's just shy of 33 years. I rose from the rank from a deputy to a captain of patrol at the sheriff's office to chief in 2 municipalities.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Mayor, with his experience with the sheriff department, outstanding work he did there at the county jail, then in Alachua, and now here in High Springs as chief. Yeah, no, he haven't had city manager experience, but he have had managerial experience with dealing with officers and other individuals. So I think he's well deserved it. I like to put it this way. I think we're getting a first round draft. And I think we need to compensate the first round draft. Because now we was gonna bring this other fella in, not knowing him, who he was a police chief. And he went into a position as a city manager. I couldn't find his application, but I don't know how many years he was as a city manager. But this commission was willing to give him, well, he was asked for $110,000 and pay for his family insurance or whatever it was he wanted, and dinner, and we was compensating, giving it to him. So, here, man, the community know, he knows the community. I want to say he have proven himself throughout his career that he's worthy of the salary offering tonight. And that's my opinion.
Mr. James, do you have?
I'm fine myself. I think we did the right thing, and I'm willing to go with it.
I agree.
You got a hand right there.
I just like to piggyback on Mr. Williams. I worked with Mr. DeCoursey in law enforcement, and in fact, he tried to stop me from retiring, but I got ready to retire. But working with him in law enforcement, he was tough, but he was straight. And I would not have another captain, chief, or whatever you want to call himself when he was working with me. I would not change another person for him being what he was over me when he was over me, because he was fair. And that's what I really appreciate in working with him. And I appreciate that, what he did with me and for me. And I think we all have one of the best.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak? Then I guess the motion before us is to approve it.
That would be the appropriate motion.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the contract with Mr. Jordan Corset Jr.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the agreement with Joel DeCoursey Jr. as city manager of High Springs. All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. I'm sorry. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1.
Let me clarify to make sure people understand. I'm not against the contract. I'm not against him being here. I hope everybody understands this. I'm as pleased as anybody that he's here. That's not the question. So I want to make sure we're not perceiving this as me not wanting him. I am ecstatic that he's here. So I just want to make sure there's a distinction that we understand that. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mayor.
I don't know if you had planned to say anything. Since you are now our city manager, we have a new chief. To welcome him as our, are you going to have anybody sitting by you now, or are you just going to be by yourself?
I can go down there.
But we wish to welcome you, Chief Antoine Shepard. Okay, the next item is update on Wild Dogs project.
So in June, there was a discussion about this, and I wasn't at that meeting because I was out of state, and our recordings weren't working at that time, so I wasn't even able to watch it. Some people reported back to me that were here at the meeting, but I personally kind of started the ball rolling with this, so I want to kind of give you an update and let the commission and everybody know where we were at. As this evolved, the steering committee realized this was much bigger than, just a little tiny project. So the steering committee came to a decision to create a nonprofit, which we have gone through the process of getting our incorporation papers and applying for and receiving a 501c3. Our nonprofit is known as the Heart of High Springs, Inc., and it is a charitable organization that supports culture, economic growth, and tourism by promoting artistic, cultural, economic, educational, historic, and revitalization activities in the High Springs area. The goal of the organization is to provide a vibrant community for all residents, visitors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and local government. When the committee came to this decision to create the nonprofit, I went to Mr. Booth a few days after we had had that meeting and filled him in on this and explained what we were trying to do so that this was done right, that we didn't want there to be any issues about, what was being done, and that we would then come to the city to ask for support with an event, which is a normal thing that the chamber does or other nonprofits do, and would that be any problem? And he did not believe that would be any problem and indicated 6 to 9 months prior to the event is when we would need to reach out to the city manager or whomever it is that does that event process. So having done that and gone through the process now of actually getting this organization up and running, some of the board members of the Heart of High Springs wanted to come tonight and talk and be available for any questions that the commission might have. But I think at least what I heard was there was a concern that the city was going to have a commitment, and this is totally a separate entity, a nonprofit entity that's been set up legally and is, everything's in order. Department of Ag has the paperwork, IRS has the paperwork, Department of State. So if any of the board members wanted to come up and address the commission, or if you had questions, we were here tonight to answer those.
Ms. Lapp, could you explain to the people what this project is about?
So the Wild Dogs Project is a mural painting event that happens over a 5-day period, but it takes a long time for this event to happen. So what it is, the Wild Dogs are a group of artists that learned old-time mural art, like advertising type murals, and they tell the history of the town in murals throughout the town. And these can be done on the sides of buildings or on panels that can then be put in different areas of our community. And the committees that work on content, the historical committees, and a whole lot of the community, because we need all the stories, will tell the story of High Springs in murals. Our project date is the spring of 2022. This is a big project. It's going to take a long time to get from here to there. And approximately 200 to 300 artists come into town to do this, along with their families. It brings a lot of revenue to our town. And the reason we did the nonprofit is because there's maintenance afterwards that has to be done. There's we have to keep a website. There's different things that we have to do. And then people come in from all over the world to see these murals. They have quite a following. And so this is a project that will help our town grow economically, but it's really a great opportunity for community building and for us to have the opportunity to tell the history of High Springs. So that event, the Wall Dog Mural event, will be the first project of the Heart of High Springs, Inc., we think.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
For example, say if we did one in Walter Howard Park, so the mural would probably show something like, Ruth, you probably remember, who else? Tony might remember, Mr. Walter Howard, sitting on the porch. When you're coming by, give you a nickel to go get him a drink. You know, something like that to tell the history of who gave the land for that park. It'll be something like that to tell the history of the community.
Could we get the board members' names?
Sure. I see two of them sitting here. The board consists of, the president is Julie Tucker. She lives in High Springs, owns a business in Alachua, and she couldn't make it tonight. Ross Ambrose is one of the board of directors. Christina Young is one of the board of directors. Lita Carrero is one of the board of directors. And I am on the board, and I am acting as secretary treasurer during this fiscal year. We have some other steering committee members that chose not to be on the board, but they're still part of the steering committee, but they just didn't want to be on the board of directors. And there's a lot of people involved with and will be much more, many more.
Tell me your full name again, please.
My name? The Heart of High Springs, Inc. You don't know my name? Here.
I got it, you said it.
Ross and Lita, do you want to come up and add to anything that I might have missed here?
Thanks. The only thing I wanted to add, and why I'm really intrigued as I looked into this project is, people drive through High Springs all the time and that aren't from here, and you're like, oh, this is a cute town. And I think the murals might not only be a reason to stop and find out more about our town, but they do tell our story. And as I looked at the research, and we communicated with other communities that have done this, because the Wall Dogs have done this in communities all around the country, we couldn't find a community that regrets having done it. Like years later, they say there's a lasting impact. They still see people who plan trips to go through their town and spend time and see these murals and look at these stories. And the opportunity for High Springs is we would be the first city in the Southwest or Southeast to have a Wall Dogs event, and we are definitely right at a great path as people travel down into the state of Florida, and this would be a reason for people to actually get off the highway and another form of marketing. So, there's a reason it's more than 2 years out. There's a lot of work, but there's a lot of opportunity for community involvement and for High Springs to show, what a great little community it is. And so that's one of the reasons that I've said, I'll help as best I can.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Oh.
I'm surprised.
Okay, item number 3 is establish alternate dates for the September, November, and December city commission meetings to avoid conflict with the holidays. Jenny?
If you look back, you'll have the dates that are proposed and for the commission meetings for the next few months to avoid the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, something we do every year.
Right.
So I have my stuff out my face.
Oh, you don't have that either?
It's in your packet.
In between the budget?
It's between
She wants you to search for
Re-
it.
You want me to look for it?
She wants you to
New
look for it.
business, number 3.
About two-thirds, about three-fourths of the way through.
All I got is the budget.
there's two different budgets. There's the financial statements
Yes,
and then the budget.
it's in between.
But you can use this one. October's not changed, but November, December.
Crazy now.
Okay.
There's only one, there would be one meeting, and that would be in December.
Right. Anybody have any objections or problems?
I'm good.
Those dates
You
work
okay?
for me, those dates work for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion? Okay.
I will make such a motion. I will make the motion that the dates be changed according to the handout that we've been given. Okay?
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the new calendars for September, October, November, and December. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Before we go forth, for you out in the audience, if you are interested, in doing them this month, of course, we're here tonight for the 12th. The next meeting will be on the 23rd. Then in October,
Yeah, it's not a Thursday.
no, the 23rd is not a Thursday, that's on a Monday. Okay? And then for October, we have two dates, which is the 10th and the 24th, and they are on Thursday. And November, the 14th is a Thursday, and the second meeting will be on Tuesday, the 26th.
Before Thanksgiving.
Right, before Thanksgiving. And in December, there will only be one meeting during that month, and it will be on Thursday, the 12th.
I'll also post those meeting dates on the list.
Okay.
All right, everybody got it? Okay. September, after tonight, the next one will be Monday, the 23rd. October, we have two meetings, both on Thursday, on the 10th and the 24th. Okay, October, we have the meeting on Thursday, the 14th. November, I'm sorry. Thursday, the 14th, and then Tuesday, the 26th. And then in December, there's only one, and it's on the 12th, which is a Thursday. Not a problem.
Okay. Now we're on review of June and July 2019 financial statements. Correct?
They're, everybody's pretty much within their budget. This is July. We just have the 3 months to go, but everybody's pretty much in. We will do another budget amendment. That's why the 2 meetings are in November the way they are, so that we can do another budget amendment within 60 days after the year closes. So, but everybody has been living inside their budget, so.
That's what we like to hear.
Any questions?
Good.
I'm going to borrow yours again. Item 5, which we added, is consider approval of a contractor's agreement with McKenna Services LLC DBA LMC Steel for the construction of the Farmers Market Pavilion.
This is the standard AIA agreement. This was the contractor that you all approved back in July. They were the low bidder. I will let the attorney talk about this. Reviewed it.
That's right. Jennifer and I had a chance to kind of go through some of the key provisions in it, and it is very standard. And a lot of it is fill in the blank, as you can see, and our architectural team played a strong hand in putting this together. Brahim Heck. There's an LD's provision in there, $100 a day if they don't complete it within the 240 days from the notice, the issue, the notice to proceed. There's retainage that the city is able to withhold at 10%, which is always a very important provision for the owner. There's the standard insurance obligations. We're working on confirming the payment and performance bond, I think, still, or is that already, do we?
Yeah, once the mayor signs, and then they'll sign, he'll
Right.
take the contract and get his PNP bond. So he should have that Monday or Tuesday.
Right, so that's obviously an important piece of this contract. All the basic things that we need in place seem to be reflected in this contract.
The notice to proceed will not be signed until we actually sit down with the USDA. They review every bit of paperwork, and everything is there. So it's kind of for the inspection and the contractors.
So this and the bond and all that, they need to see everything?
Have to see everything, and we have to go page by page.
Okay.
They're giving us money.
Well, I was going to say, we want them to do that because we
Yeah.
don't want them coming back and somehow there's a
Right.
mistake and so forth. So we waited this long?
5 years. Wait a minute, I've been here 5 years. Angela had it before me.
I was going to say, so, I mean, another month, so forth to do it is, let's make all the ducks are in a row.
So we need a motion then? Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the contractor's agreement with McInnes Services LLC, DBA LMC Steel for the construction of the Farmers Market Pavilion.
Second.
And moved and second that we approve the contractor's agreement with McInnes Services LLC, doing business as LM Steel for the construction of the Farmers Market Pavilion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. City Attorney's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Former city manager, Mr. Booth, asked us, I guess this is his last assignment for us, to report to the commission at the next meeting about the new tree statute, the bill that's just been signed in place by the governor and has been now assigned a statutory number. I think it's Chapter 165. But it went into effect in July, and it definitely is going to have an impact on local government in terms of tree permits going forward. The language I'll read to you, and actually I take that back, Section 163, Chapter 163.045. It says a local government may not require a notice, application, approval, permit, fee, or mitigation for the pruning, trimming, or removal of a tree on residential property if the property owner obtains documentation from an arborist certified by the International Society of Arboriculture or a Florida licensed landscape architect that the tree presents a danger to persons or property. So we do have a code provision that is section 82-39 currently that reads, any person wishing to obtain a permit to remove a tree shall make application with the city at the city hall in such form as shall be prescribed by the city commission. So now the process is somewhat changed in circumstances where somebody goes out and gets this documentation. Couple interesting takes from it. There's absolutely no exceptions written into this, so it doesn't matter if a tree is considered historical or a specimen. It does not matter according to the way this is written. It also is not very clear as far as obtaining documentation. Kind of remains to be seen how this will play out. Does the resident just get the documentation and keep it in their back pocket and wait for somebody to call them out on this? Or do they have to report this to the code enforcement officer in the city or the city manager before they do it? There's all those sorts of questions that now we have to kind of go back and look at our ordinance and figure out how we might want to amend it. At a minimum, I think we want to add language. We can still require a permit, but we now have to add language that says, except as set forth in section 163.045. So previously, or up to this point in time, this was a decision as far as whether to issue that permit. It was a decision to be made by the city manager. Now there's obviously going to be circumstances where the city manager no longer has that power. So that's something that we need to be aware of. And I know that, with our tree committee, it's something that we probably should talk about further and figure out what would be a good way to amend our code provision here. And see if we can work in some kind of process. If we think it would be enforceable, we're still kind of researching that issue because nobody has any answers. That we participate in the local government email forum, and I know some of the attorneys around the state have asked the question, how do you document it? And who do you report to? And I actually read through a lot of those emails, and so far I haven't seen a good answer from anybody on that yet. So that's where we are.
What's the effective date?
July 1 of 2019. So it's in force.
They couldn't give us a heads up, huh?
So is there a time frame built into that which allows for governments to make adjustments, or is it effective immediately? And
it's actually not absolutely necessary that the local governments go back and amend their ordinances. Just don't violate state law. But it would be prudent to go ahead and do that so that, if somebody wants to read up on what they have to do, it's spelled out pretty clearly and they know where to go and that sort of thing. So.
You're going to take care of it?
Absolutely. Yes.
Any other comments, questions? Yes.
Ross again, and I happen to chair the tree board. So for actually about the past 9 months prior to this law happening, the tree board has been working on a revision to the ordinance because there were a number of issues. And we kind of stopped waiting for direction from the city manager on what the will of the commission is going to be. So at some point, we're looking for the city manager to come back to us and say, yes, go ahead and finish this, and the ordinance precludes anything that can be proven by an arborist or a licensed landscape architect to be dangerous or endangering property or whatever. And that was part of the 5-year plan that we brought to you. So your advisory board is waiting for direction from the city on where you want to go to address even some of the things that you've just mentioned. So when you have a chance.
I might add one more comment too. I don't know if you could ever convince a licensed landscape architect to do this, or an arborist, but the language does say that the documentation has to show that the tree presents danger. So to me, I read that as don't come in after the fact and try to paper the file. You better already have that in advance. That's one thing I think the city could probably come down pretty hard on if they wanted to. I think that language is pretty clear in it, so.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. City Attorney?
Nothing further?
Manager, I'm sorry.
We don't know who he is yet.
Mead.
Of course he-
Madam Mayor, just a brief comment. I just like to say that I'm humbled and excited about the opportunity and the challenge that's put before us, and before me. We have an excellent team. Mr. Booth left a legacy that we're going to continue. We're going to move forward, and it's exciting that we have a new chief, Chief Shepherd, who will be sworn in. He went through the process of posting the job internally, and he's the only one who applied for it. So, go figure. So I'm proud of him, and in the future, we'll be swearing him in as Chief of Police.
All right. Very good.
That's it, Madam.
Okay, is that all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Starting in October, November, December, the merchants are going to start their first Fridays again from 5 to 8 because those are busy months and people are downtown. And we have new restaurants and a brewery and other things going on, so there'll be more foot traffic. So any support that, the staff and the commission can give in publicizing that and being out there, our businesses appreciate it when we come out. So thank you.
That's all.
That's it. I'm
Whoa.
getting pretty good in my old age.
I'd just like to remind you that the chamber will be hosting a yard sale on Saturday, the 21st of this month, right here behind the City Hall, from 8 o'clock until 2. And they're asking for $15 per space. So if you're interested, you can get an application, of course, from the chamber office, and you can also go out on the website and Facebook these days and get you an application. And I have a question that was posed to me too. The 9 lots that we were working with over in the Douglas neighborhood, where are we with those now? Anywhere, anything happening at all?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. We actually have sold 2 of the lots. We advertised and we received a bid for 2 of the lots. And the city is keeping the rest of them. So we're down to 5 lots left. And we actually have a meeting with the Douglas Committee on October 1st at 6:30 at the old school to discuss the direction of what they'd like to see with the other 5 remaining lots.
5 remaining, you sold 2. What happened to the other 2?
The city decided to keep 2.
Oh, okay.
That was the two right there beside.
They're on that
Can't find the other
strip,
tab.
on that
I have
strip
to
as you
ask.
come around the corner.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. James?
Spoken up.
Vice Mayor?
All right, Mr. Manager, welcome aboard, and I want you to get Chief Shepherd a bicycle and put a light on it, because that was his first police vehicle, was a bicycle when he was a boy. We'll make sure we put a light on it this time, he can go on the call. All right. Yes, sir. Couple things. The first one is just food for thought. Food for thought. This ain't nothing we have to do. Just food for thought. Okay. When we have the back to school giveaway, I think you have several organizations in town that have that. Just food for thought. if it's possible for we as a city to come together, all those organizations, and have one big backpack giveaway. You know, because I know on one Saturday, it was two that was having one at the same time. You know, and people just,
There was one Saturday with three.
yeah.
There was one Saturday that had three, maybe even four going on at the same time. And so the people would go to one and leave and go to another one. And so the resources aren't being distributed well
Yes.
by us having so many. Aren't we blessed that we have so many organizations that want to help our kids? We are so blessed.
Yes.
So.
And just, it'd be something to be more organized and have one central location where they can go through the process and have an entertainment or whatever. But I know they'll do a wonderful at Sunfit Community College. I think this past year they had Little Bow Wow. And his name, the little rapper. I think his name, Bow Wow, Little Bow Wow.
Bow Wow. He's not little anymore. He's not little anymore.
He's not little anymore. No, he's not.
Not little anymore.
A little anymore. That's just food for thought. Something maybe to think about and approach those organizations, see what they think, and just have a central location. And the second thing is, Farm Share had called me about doing another farm share, but I've been trying to reach them. This young lady that I knew, but she's not returning my call. So, but I see Elder Gaines in the building on tonight. I was going to get with him maybe to contact his contact and see what we can do, because we passed due for having one here in High Springs. So if it's all right for me to get with Elder Gaines and we can try to help organize something there to come, if he'll do it. That's a thumbs up. Yes. That's all I have.
Okay. I have a statement that I would like to read. I've given a copy to the city clerk and to the city manager. This statement was to be made at the July 25th meeting, but circumstances delayed until tonight's meeting. Also, I am speaking only on my own behalf. At our June 27th commission meeting, we had a discussion with Christina Wright, CRA Director, about the upcoming VOCC, Board of County Commissioners, meeting July 9th regarding High Springs Interim Trail Use Agreement. It was decided that we would send a letter to the VOCC expressing our desire to extend this agreement. It was my understanding that Ms. Wright would send out a draft letter, and each of the commissioners was to send to her our comments. She would incorporate all comments and send to the BOCC prior to the July 9th meeting. Commissioner Lavin chose to write a letter on her own, copying Christina Wright, Jenny Parham, and Chris Dawson. This letter was emailed on July 2nd to Commissioner Byerly. When I spoke with Ms. Wright after Commissioner Lavin sent her letter, she said it was her understanding that the commissioners would send individual letters. However, the email sent to the commissioners by Ms. Wright with the draft letter indicates that one letter would be sent. She uses our letter, this letter, and we will put the final draft on letterhead to send out. She underlined, "Send me individually your comments." It also indicates that the mayor would sign the letter. Ms. Wright, as requested by Commissioner Lavin, forwarded all the attachments to the BOCC. I would like it on record that, in my opinion, this was a blatant disregard to the procedures set place at the June 27th meeting. This attitude of Commissioner Lavin has been a continued theme. She immersed herself in the CRA upon becoming chair. We have a director. Commissioner Lavin should chair meetings and let our director run the CRA. Commissioner Lavin took it upon herself to manage the Douglas community for CRA assistance, even though my Vice Mayor Williams was our liaison. The last meeting that was held left many people angry and frustrated. The CSX Rails to Trails went south after she intervened. Many people had been involved for several years, so you can imagine their disappointment. Instead of asking city staff to research issues of interest to bring back to the entire board, she does her own research and gives her own report to the board. She does not seem to understand that she is one of 5 on the High Springs City Commission. It is my hope that Commissioner Lavin will take a good look at her role as a city commissioner and try to become part of a team instead of her perceived position as team leader. Do we have a motion to dismiss?
I'll make such a motion.
So moved. And we will go back to the CRA meeting.
Let's take a 5-minute break.
Please, yes.
Yeah, for the 20,
Yeah.
2 o'clock.
So we'll have a big powwow.
Yeah, good, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Everything. Huh? Yeah, it'll be fun.
They're gonna take a 5-minute.
We'll resume the CRA meeting at 7:43. We'll resume the CRA meeting.
Okay.
We were on discussion item 1. I'm not sure that we made any decision with that. The discussion of moving forward with Phase 2, the Main Street landscape lighting, accessibility, safety, and potential access improvements with CHW.
That's just a discussion item,
Yeah, it's informational.
Okay.
like an info thing, yeah.
Did we have any further to add to that item? Okay, all right. So number 2, renewal of the High Springs CRA update and discussion.
Yeah, so our report has been approved by OMB. They're coordinating with Edgar, and anyway, everything went really well. I had a wonderful conversation with Stephanie at OMB today, and they're excited about the projects that we have in the pipeline and all that we've accomplished. So that is looking to be a consent agenda item on October the 8th, and so that's moving right along.
That's a big hurdle to get through, the approvals for the Office of Management and Budget. That means we met the criteria, so that's great to hear. Review of monthly CRA financials.
And this has been, we do this on a monthly basis. Nothing too major. Again, we're looking at some of these projects, but at this time, nothing, no major spending has occurred.
Everything going smooth.
Any questions for her on those?
Okay. Well, she says everything going smoothly.
Okay, next meeting date discussion, and she has a date of October 10th, which I think is about a month from now.
Yeah, it's also city commission meeting, so it would be, depending on, as long as we have a light agenda, 6 o'clock should be fine.
Is that okay? Anybody have any conflict with that?
Okay.
And Florida,
Meeting night anyway. October 10th, commission meeting night anyway, so that's fine.
yes, we'll do it at 6, she said, as long as the agenda is light.
Let me just ask on this one. Can we get this on the calendar that's online? I never see the CRA dates on the, I never see them. Maybe it must be my computer. I don't ever see CRA dates on the computer. I see the commission, I've never seen a CRA. If we could make sure they're up there, because sometimes, to be honest with you, I got to check them and see.
I
So
know I have it on the front page of the web, but I'm not sure.
I go straight to the calendar. So I mean, if you could do that just on the dates, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, number 5, Florida Redevelopment Association Annual Conference attendees.
Yeah, I put this on here because, as some of you may know, I'm going to be overseas during the annual conference. And we were up for 2 awards. We did not receive the awards, but we will be in the best book of all the best redevelopment in the state for 2019. And with that comes a free marketing promotional package. The consultant firm RBI out of Tallahassee that works very closely with Florida League of Cities and Florida Redevelopment Association. They offer all entrants a free video and marketing package. And so I wanted to ask you all, our UF interns, Mason and Mark, that helped us so much through the summer, if it would be okay with you all, I checked on it. If we were to send them, there's no cost for the conference because they would just be there for the video and the dinner. And, to do something nice for them since they're traveling all that way, the dinner tickets would be $69 a piece. And so I wanted to see if you all, they're very articulate, they would do a phenomenal job, I'm sure. And wanted to see if, that would be okay with you all. Again, this is $69 a piece. Otherwise, you all are, of course, encouraged, welcome to go to I just wanted to, mention that, so, because that is, we will be, our master plan and, a little overview of the CRA will be done, just to kind of have a little promo. It's complimentary.
Where is it?
It's in Tampa.
It's in Tampa?
And it's the October the 16th through the 18th.
And you say the only thing that's required payment for the 2 students to go is luncheon fee?
With the dinner, yeah, the dinner is $69 a ticket.
And it's in Tampa, you said?
Yeah.
So you got a line item you can take that out of?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we can. I mean, so this will fall into the next budget year. So, I mean, I have training and travel. That's no problem. And it's a considerable savings to us because each year when I go or one of us go, there's usually a hotel stay, at least a night or two, and then the conference costs and, all that goes along with it. It's a wonderful conference. They do a phenomenal job. And I look forward to it every year. But at least this way here, we're getting the benefit of that, the complimentary video and the marketing and all that, so.
Great.
And plus, it's a nice way to say thank you to Mark and Mason. They drove all the way out here on alternating days every day this summer, and so, yeah.
So do we need to make a motion, or are we in agreement?
I mean, it's within my spending, but I just wanted to discuss it with you, and plus let you all know that, you all are more than welcome too if you would like to take part in that, or if you're interested in going, just to make sure that you all are aware that the conference is next month also.
Okay.
You can't take action at this point, right?
Well, there's no, I mean, it's 69, I mean, I can pay for it, I just wanted to talk with you about it and about, to see if you all
Okay.
were interested in going.
That's just an authorized, like, the expenditure through the department head type of deal. Okay, I just want to make sure, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Thank you for your work on that, even though we didn't get the awards. Thank you for submitting for them.
Yeah, and we still, once they're actually implemented, we can still apply again. In fact, our chances might be stronger when it's not a planning study. Because, a lot of times, because I had the before and after, but still, when you're looking at plans, it's much different than when you're seeing it in real time, so.
Okay. All right, Chair's report. I have nothing to report other than what Christine has presented, and she's going to report on the consent agenda and the other things under her report.
Yeah, so again, October the 8th, consent agenda, our renewal. So also on that day earlier at the library, we were the recipient of a, it's like Enjoy Nature, and I don't know, it's the Tourism Development Council grant for each year, the Music in the Park program, we apply for that to help produce that event. Michael, very instrumental in doing all that, and anyway, we were very fortunate to receive, I think it's like a little less than $1,600, so it helps. And so that day they're going to have, their meeting about this at the library. So we were an award recipient, and that's another thing we'll be doing. Other than that, his signature event, Folk in the Springs, will be this Sunday from 11 to 7. And then also I wanted to update on the trail that I did talk with Doug Hadaway at the Trust for Public Land. He was the gentleman at the county commission meetings that was dealing directly with CSX. Anyway, they're planning to meet again to discuss the trail project. So
they're going to meet with CSA. CSF.
Yeah,
Very
I
good.
think it's the end of this month, and then we'll probably follow up with them from there.
Okay. Is there any other item? Motion to adjourn?
Yes, I can.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.